So, welcome everyone to a reality beyond infertility, which, like Claudia had mentioned, is quite an interesting topic. Um, I'm very excited about this topic. My name is Cara Wright. I'm an Access Consciousness certified facilitator. I have been for 7 years now. And prior to that, I basically, since I graduated from college, I played in the realm of all things like birth, pregnancy, um, conception, and then personally experienced infertility. And it was a huge part of my life for a very, very, very long time until I found Access. And actually, one of the reason I actually found Access is because I had been trying to get pregnant for, I think it was like 6 or 7 years when I found Access. And I literally was at the end of my rope, so to speak. And I actually remember the day that I was in my house, and even though I didn't know Access, I had always been very interested in holistic things. So I was a yoga teacher. I teach prenatal yoga. I was a doula for many, many years. I was very naturally minded. I had tried everything you could possibly try to get pregnant that was kind of more, and I also had a lot of points of view actually about what were the right ways and what were the wrong ways. And by the time I got to 7 years out, I was just confused, and I had enough of it, and my body was pretty weird and wonky. And I knew somewhere in my world that I was destroying my life based on the desire to get pregnant and it not occurring. And so I remember basically making a demand. I was like in my living room, and I know exactly where I was standing. And I was like, I just got to get off this hamster wheel. Because that's really what it had become for me, was this intense thing that nothing was changing what was occurring, but I couldn't get off of it. Like I couldn't stop what I was doing, because I had gotten to the point where so many of the things I tried hadn't worked, but I couldn't figure out what else I was going to do if I didn't get pregnant. Like I was so focused on that I literally couldn't see that there was a life for me beyond that. And so I had a friend at the time who was doing a lot of the EFT tapping stuff. And she actually sent me a video of Dane Hare. I don't remember what the video was about. It was like, I don't know, 30-second to a minute and a half video. It was very short. And she said, hey, I don't know what this is, but I think you should try it. And it was him talking about the bars, the Access bars. Because at the time I also had become incredibly depressed and very anxious. And the combination of the two was it was just really intense. And everything I tried, whether it was acupuncture or the EFT or herbs or homeopathy, or I tried it all, everything would help a little bit, and nothing would create enough space that I could actually get off of the hamster wheel that I totally felt stuck on. So I looked online, and there just happened to be a bars class. I live in Washington State, so there was a bars class in Seattle, the following weekend. And I was like, I don't know what the hell this is. I literally had never had my bars run, not one time. I did not know anything about Access. I didn't even research it. I just was like, okay, I'm going to go do this. And I went to my first bars class. I then stayed for foundation. So I did 5 days of Access without knowing what it was. And my life has never looked the same since. And so it changed so much for me. And I know that my story isn't unique, and that there's a lot of people out there who are struggling with this particular thing. And most of the time in silence, because it's very isolating. And even when people know what you're, kind of what's going on with you, nobody ever really knows how to talk to you about it. Nobody ever really knows how to be around you. Everybody just gets really weird and awkward. And there isn't, I just didn't ever talk to really anyone about it. And so for me to find these tools and be able to use the bars and use the basic tools and foundation. And things just started shifting and changing for me in ways that I had never considered were possible. And that hamster wheel that I was stuck on basically wasn't even relevant anymore. And it took a little bit of time, but it was like so much more immediate than I could ever thought was possible. And so that's, this is something that I'm really excited about, getting out there so that people actually know that this is possible. And also for those of you that have maybe had this in your life and you do know access and you have done your bars, if there's anything that you have more questions about, because there's so much involved in this topic, like it's such a big topic. I'm happy to look at that with you to see what else is going on for you specifically, because there's this general idea of what infertility is. And I actually use that word very specifically because if you're somebody who's been struggling with this particular issue, that word, like I fucking hated that word. I still have a lot of charge with that word. And so much of the reason why I hated that word is because of what it created for me. Because I was my own worst. Like I was the hardest person on me. I was the hardest person on my body. I was the hardest person on the whole thing. I had really put it all on me. And so a word like that just had so much intensity for me. And so I actually used it on purpose for this particular series. Because it's one of those words that it's a nonsense word, but yet everyone uses it and nobody really knows what it means. And it has a bazillion different definitions for people. So if we all know the clearing statement, like the thing that I would love to start with is like, what is infertility to you and to your body? And everything that is, would you be willing to uncreate and destroy it all? Good, bad, right, wrong, all nine, pod, poc, shorts, boys, and beyonds.
I have a question, if I may.
Yes, please. That was going to be my next thing. Yes.
The situation is a bit upside down and inside out and whatever. I have 4 children, and of which 3 have children, so I have 5 grandchildren now, and 1 daughter. She had 2 pregnancies, which she terminated because she was very young and she was a bit stubborn. So anyway. And now she's married for about 6 years, something like that, or 5. I don't even really know. And her husband has got a next to nothing sperm count. So she has this thing with infertility. It's not hers, it's his. But she's buying into the story and she's suffering because the latest grandchild or her nephew was born 3 weeks ago. And she's really fucked up about that because she's been trying to get pregnant. Yep. They separated now, I think, 3 times. She's also been taking drugs. Now she says she's off. I just take it as it is. And I would like to, I don't even know what I would like.
I was going to say,
I would like to make it. I would like to make it easy for her. And we have a very strange relationship. We haven't spoken for 6 years now, I think. And it's just starting to melt away, this block of ice. And I'm going to see her again next week. And I'd like to be there for her. And what is possible? That's the only question I'm able to formulate right now without making it complicated.
Yes. Well, and so what I would say, so first of all, is she someone who is open to bars? Is she someone who would be willing to have her bars run?
I would hope so. She asked me to do something for her, with her, but not on her body yet. She's not quite ready.
So, so one of the things that when I actually, this feels like this applies a little bit to her, and she may not actually. So one of the things I would say for you, Claudia, is that really be present with what she's actually willing to receive. and what you can
Mm-hmm.
say
Yeah.
out your mouth and
Yeah.
what, because sometimes you can just be an energy and an awareness and a space of a possibility without actually saying anything to her. And that might be where she's actually
Yes.
at right now. So be very present with what you know and ask, what can she hear? Ask in your head when you're around her, okay, what can she hear? If like something comes to you to say, just say to yourself, okay, can she actually hear this? Because there is one of the things that I know for myself, there's two things. When I was in the like kind of the depths of all of it, it was very hard
Yeah.
for, and not only was I keeping everything like a secret and isolating myself, it would have been very hard for other people to say anything to me that actually made a difference, because I was very stuck in conclusion and very stuck in right and wrong and what I had decided everything was and what I had decided it wasn't. And so looking back at myself, like if I would have facilitated myself in that moment, I would have been very aware of what I was willing to say and not say. So like what space can you be when you're with her
Yeah.
that gives her more accessible, like gives her access to what this really is for her, and everything
Yeah.
doesn't allow you to be that with
Well,
EKG. Would you uncreate a story at all?
yes.
Good, bad, right, wrong, all nine, pod,
Yeah.
poc, shorts, boys, and bands. And I'm just going to do this. All the projections, expectations, rejections, separations, and judgments you have of her in regards to this, of you in regards to this, of your relationship with her in
Yeah.
regards to this, would you be willing to uncreate and destroy them all?
Yes.
Good, bad, right, wrong, all nine, pod, poc, shorts, boys, and beyonds. So the thing that was really interesting for me when I found access is I basically did bars and foundation. And then like 3 weeks later, I went to my first body class. And like, through this whole process, the one thing that I knew for sure is that my body was definitely messed up. It was completely wrong. And that was my biggest problem, was my body. And I, in the foundation class and in the bars class, that started to change a little bit. And then when I went to
Mm-hmm.
my body class, like it was with Glenna Rice, and I remember, I don't even know if it might have just been, it could have been day one, but the body class started. I was so excited to be there. And it probably was day two, because it took me that long to kind of get the courage to ask the question that I went there to ask, about why can't I get pregnant? And I finally asked it, and Glenna just like with no point of view and total space was like, do you actually desire to be pregnant? Do you actually desire to be a parent? Do you desire to be a mom? And I was like, holy fuck balls. Because I gotta know. Like, and she also said, be aware that's a no in this 10 seconds. So the other thing too that people tend to do is they, with this particular topic, and when they're going through this, and I know I was guilty of this, was it's like this one thing rules it all. It's this one choice gets glumped and solidified, and there is no other choices. And you feel like you have to be like, dedicated to that choice that you made. And so when I really had to sit there and go, holy crap, because I actually didn't, and she asked me like a series of questions. It wasn't like she just asked me one question and I automatically came to the idea of like, wow, I don't actually desire to have children. But in that series of questions, I actually was like, and it was so light. And I was like, oh my God. Like I was literally at this point, 7 years in of, doing some pretty crazy stuff to try to get pregnant. Really being tough on myself because it wasn't happening. Basically destroying a relationship that I had that was wonderful. And when I really looked at the energy and what I desired for my life, I actually didn't desire to have children. And like the whole time my body was just contributing to what I had chose. So what I would say with her is that she actually really desired to have children. And I'm not saying that you can say that to her in this 10 seconds.
It's a really,
Because my sense is you won't be able to say that. And could you
as you were speaking,
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Are you still talking? Can't hear you. Claudia, can you hear me? Can you guys hear me? Oh, you can. Okay. So what I would say, Claudia, is just be the question energetically. Is this actually what you desire? And it doesn't even have to be that she would have the same answer to it tomorrow or the next day or the
Yeah.
next day.
What I do perceive is she is wanting, she's asking this question that I ask her. And the times we've met, I've been very, very cautious, very kind with her. We talked about painting pizzas and blah, blah, blah. And so this moment is arriving, whenever that will arrive. And I'm very gentle with her because I know it's absolute vulnerability that's requiring. And so just just let's say waiting for when she's ready, and I energetically perceive that she wants me to ask her this, I will ask her, and if not, then I'll just keep playing.
That's what
That's all I can say.
Yes, and I would say that's really the place to start. And
Yeah.
and always, like, because you are, you know, her mom, I would just also uncreate and destroy all of your projections, all of your expectations, all of those things for you, so that you can be more present with where she's at as she moves through the process. Because again, it's like this particular topic is never, it's kind of a moving target. Things are different for people all the time, and there's different levels of what this looks like for people. Some people, like, you know, have this for a bit and then they actually get pregnant, they actually conceive, they actually have a baby, but there's an energy that got created when they couldn't, you know, get pregnant, or they got pregnant and the baby, you know, and they had miscarriages. That actually can carry into pregnancy, and it can carry into birth, because then they have this like really intense, like, what if this, you know, goes away, or what if this, you know, stops, and all of that kind of stuff. So there's so many different like places and spaces that people experience this from. And it's actually not just a topic for women as well. Like, infertility is one of the things that it actually affects men as well, with basically what your daughter. I remember when I was going through the process, like, I have such a caring for my husband that I literally remember going, I hope it's me and not him, because I did not want him to have that burden, quote unquote. And it's interesting, like, so being aware of that as well, that this isn't just a woman thing that can, you know, create like intensity and depression and stress and strain in a relationship. It's actually, it could be the woman, it could be the man, it could be both. And with her partner, you know, like, I would just say, whatever you can be or do for her, and be the space of, what actually would you like to choose? What are you choosing? Not from a you've created this, but from a like, okay, cool. And what else? Kind of this like, what is this? What can you do with it? Can you change it? And if so, how? Being the space of those 4 questions.
The invitation
Is such a gift. And that might be what you choose for the next short while. And then there might be a chance for you to have that conversation with her, or ask her a few questions, so that she can start to look at like what points of view or decisions or conclusions that she has in place that could be affecting what's showing up for her. Because one of the things that when you're in this situation that people often will say to you is like, well, if you weren't so stressed out, it would just happen. Or, you know, if you just stopped worrying about it, it would just happen. And it's like a real disservice and unkindness to say things like that to women, because most women who are in this situation have like, they don't really need more to like make themselves wrong about in any, because they've already probably done a really good job internally doing that. So that's one of the things that, you know, if you are the space of a question with people who are in this particular space, and also if you are in this particular space, because it is something that, like I said, so many people experience this. Very, very, very few people actually talk about it. And if you are in that position with yourself, like, what space of question can you be with yourself? Because it also could be like, for me, it was that I realized, wow, I actually wasn't really desiring that. And then in that 10 seconds, but that wasn't the last time I asked myself a question about it. And I still ask myself questions. So what question can you be? Did you have a question?
Yeah, so as you do, I wanted to ask, so I'm a parent. I apparently can't have kids, and it's okay for me. Like, I've never had, you know, ever since like I was a little girl, I've never had that kind of like white picket fence dream of having a family and having kids. Have been something, you know, that I've desired. So it hasn't really come as a surprise to me, but it really affects other people. Like, and it's so surprising. Like, that the other day I was told, like, oh, don't worry, you can adopt. You'll never be fulfilled until you have a child. And I think that's like my biggest issue, is actually like the projections from other people. And how do you get like past that? Because that's like, I don't have an issue with not having a kid, but everybody else makes it an issue, like there's something wrong with it.
Yep. Well, and that was one of the things too that I realized when I got that information. I was like, wow, I don't actually desire to have children. And, you know, I had all these things, like I was literally a doula with pregnant women all the time. And, you know, everybody just assumed I was going to do that. And the thing that I realized, and that a lot of women could look at, is whose point of view is it? Like, who does that belong to? The desire to have children, is that actually your point of view, or is that something that you have family projecting at you, or you have friends projecting at you, or even your partner? You know, it could be extended family, it could be siblings. Like, so many people have so many ideas of, you know, what is like, what they would like your life to look like in regards to children. So all the projections and expectations and rejections and separations and judgments that you're aware of that are not yours, would you be willing to uncreate and destroy everywhere you've decided they're yours, that you've bought them as yours, and return them all to sender?
Yeah.
And everything that doesn't allow that, we uncreate and destroy it all.
Yes.
Get it right, wrong, all 9 podpoc, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Yeah. So, I mean, so many people are like, well, but I wanted you, like, well, let's get pregnant together. Or then, like, I had so many of those experiences show up. And it's literally being in the moment with you going, okay, like, what is this? Because I even get it now, where all of a sudden I'll have this desire, or I'll have this like grief over like, oh my God, I'm getting older, and am I really not going to have kids? And like, oh, you know, I'll start to like go into all these universes around it. And I'm like, and I have to stop myself and be like, okay, wait a second. Who does that belong to? And I realized that it's actually, none of that is actually mine. That's family's points of view about it, and what they would like, you know, what their ideas of what they would like, what they've decided is the right thing for us to do. And so a lot of people have that idea of, hey, if you're not going to have children, then, you know, you're never going to be fulfilled, or all that.
Yeah.
So also too, so you can just, first of all, catch it. And it's like the basic tool. Who does that belong to? And when I say catch it, it's like when you just all of a sudden start to have that show up in your world again, that's when you want to like kind of build the muscle of catching it and going, okay, is that actually my point of view? And maybe it would be in that moment. Or is that something I'm aware of? Is that me, someone else, something else? The other thing too, to be aware of is definitely ask, is it me, someone else, or something else? Because oftentimes we will have beings around us who really desire for you to be their parent. And even if you've decided and you've said, hey, I'm not doing that this lifetime, go ahead and find a different person to come. If you want to come in and find somebody and like find me as a buddy, that's great. But also too, you can have beings that have desired to be your child, who have been your children in other lifetimes, who you have made contracts in other lifetimes with, like this, now your turn to birth them, and then you get here and you're kind of like, I don't really want to have kids. They're still there, and they can also be projecting stuff at you. So all of the beings that are in your guys' universe, or anybody universes that you know that you're aware of that have points of view about being a child, would you be willing to uncreate and destroy all your contracts and your decisions and your choices and everything you've done together to keep the past moving into the future, and everything that doesn't allow that, we uncreate and destroy it all? Good,
That's
bad,
so
right,
funny.
wrong, all nine podpoc, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Because sometimes that does show up.
Because I said to my mom the other day, I said, Mom, I've already had a child in the past, sometime, in another lifetime, because, my mom's fine with it all. And we had such a giggle because I'm like, I don't fucking want it now.
So you could ask, like, does it belong to you, someone, or something else? What's lighter?
Yeah, it's not mine.
Is it something else? Is it someone else?
It's someone else. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just returning all of that to sender and actually getting present with what you'd like to choose.
Okay. So like my biggest thing now is like I'm 28 and there's such an expectation like I'm supposed to get married now and have kids. And I'm like, no, like I want to live my life. And it was so funny. So this isn't really a question, but I'm gonna go there anyway. But so the other day this guy was like, Bron, your biological clock's clicking, like you better hurry up, like have kids. He doesn't know I can't have kids. So I'm like, yo, I'm shagging like 2 people at one time and I'm pregnant with the one. He's like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah. And he shut up. He like completely couldn't handle it and he left it. I was like, thank you.
Well, that's a cool, I mean, like humor is always a good way to handle stuff like that. Because, it's like with anything. This is like one of those areas where if someone's actually directly talking to you about something, is it really any of their business? If you haven't actually invited their input in, however you want to handle that, whether it be humor, that was a funny way to do it. You can also, depending on how people deliver it at you, you could say, thank you for your judgment. Because that's really what it is.
Sure. I've never thought of that one. That would also keep people quiet.
Yes. And also too, sometimes it's not that you have to respond to those things. Like if people are going to directly say things to you about that particular topic and you don't want to respond, you don't actually have to.
Okay.
Sometimes just saying nothing is going to work better than responding in kind.
Yeah, I'm actually learning that now much better instead of like getting angry and trying to protect myself.
Yeah, and it's like lowering your barriers, expanding out, and just interesting point of view. They have that point of view. One of the most fantastic tools. And this also like for me, one of the things that now has started to occur in my life, because it's something that like, because people, like, especially I have very large families all over the place in like all areas. And because they all know that this has been my experience, there's still areas where it comes up. I'm just gonna mute, I think, yeah. There's still areas where it comes up where I no longer have a lot of charge on this particular topic. I'm a lot of space with myself with it. I know what I would like to choose and what I have chosen. And that doesn't mean that other people are aware that I am where I am. So it's like other people, I can become aware of other people being uncomfortable around me, which is something that is really interesting to experience. I recently my nephew he and his wife got pregnant and had their baby. And shortly after they found out that they were pregnant, and this is the first like nephew that has gotten pregnant. And so even though it's been years since I was trying to have children, everybody knows that we're not going to have children. Everybody knows we're cool with it. It was so interesting to watch everybody's uncomfortableness come up and almost their preparedness that I was going to somehow freak out about everything. So I had to do a lot of podpocking. Okay, like everything that I'm aware of, return to sender, and like just being aware that I was aware of their points of view, that they were uncomfortable around me because someone else was pregnant, and oh my God, all their stuff around it. Like, what if other people have more stuff around you conceiving or not conceiving than you actually do? And everywhere you're not willing to be, perceive and receive that information, would you be willing to uncreate and destroy it?
Yeah.
Good, bad, right, wrong, all 9, pod, poc, shorts, boys, and beyonds.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's brilliant.
So any other questions?
This is such an amazing, enlightening conversation. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure. Anyone else? I could keep talking. And I want to make sure that I answer your guys' questions as well. Okay, awesome. So yeah, I mean, I've mentioned a few of the tools that I use, and like so many of them are the basic tools. So if you've done an Access Bars class, and really truly, one of the things that helped me get over, because when I actually found Access, I had actually gone, because there's like so many things that you can do nowadays medically to basically like get pregnant. There's all this technology now that they have for it, whether it be because the woman's body, there's something going on with the woman's body, or there's something going on with the man's body. There's so many different things, like from using donor sperm to using donor eggs to using surrogate moms to all of this. There's so many different ways you could choose to have a child, and there's adoption, which my sister actually adopted 2 girls from China. They're amazing and brilliant. And so that was one of the judgments that I got a lot. Like, nobody could understand, well, why don't you just adopt? Well, why don't you just adopt? And that would drive me so crazy, because it's like, so one of the things that happens is that people think, and I even thought to myself, like I even would look at it before Access and be like, what is wrong with me? Because I desire to have this thing, but I also desired it in a way that was going to work for me. And I knew the things that weren't going to work for me. And yet I judged myself totally about the choices that I was making. So like, I really wanted to have a child, and there were things that I was willing to do in order for that to happen. And there were things that I knew I wasn't going to choose. Like, I knew I wasn't going to choose adoption, and I knew I wasn't going to choose something more medically invasive, like in vitro, or, even like donor sperm or donor egg. Like, I knew I wasn't going to go that far. For me, that wasn't and before Access, but that wasn't really life for me. And yet, it was one of the things, like, it actually created a lot of shame in my world, because it was like, here I was trying to get pregnant, and, and yet I wouldn't do everything that I was supposed to do in order to get pregnant, you know, and there was like funny food things like, you know, oh God, if I really wanted to do this, then I wouldn't be eating this. And, you know, and then, so then it would just be another source of judgment for myself. And so that's why I ended up, you know, 7 years in, I was like doing the things that I was willing to do, which was natural hormone replacement. That was really, it was like really intense for my body, but it was the thing that I was willing to do. I did acupuncture, I did other things, but even that, even finding the one way that I would kind of mess with my hormones that worked for me was really intense on my body. And it created me being a bit crazier than normal. And so when I found Access and I found the bars, like just getting my bars run and just doing the basic body processes that you learn in foundation allowed me to actually choose to like, okay, do I actually want to continue to take this medication? And if I am taking this medication, is this the way? Like I actually started asking questions for myself and like what my body would like body, do you actually like this? Is this actually okay for you? All very crazy questions if you are committed to getting pregnant, because if you're committed, you should be willing to do anything and everything, which was my point of view prior to finding Access. Bye, Claudia. Thanks for coming on. Let me know if you need anything in the future with your daughter.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good night.
Night. So, just the basic tools of bars and foundation were such a gift to me in being able to start to change and shift all of this. Because there is like I said in the beginning, there's so many different aspects of this. And, you know, there's so many different ways that we can make ourselves wrong. And most of us are humanoids. And those of us that this call spoke to, definitely humanoids. And so, like I said, the basic tools is like what got me started coming out of all of it. And then what else? And like what other things are possible into the future with this particular topic and with people who are looking to have something different show up. That was one of the things that for me, it was like I wasn't getting pregnant, but I could not see what I could do, like what my life was going to look like if I didn't get pregnant. And so for those people who are kind of stuck in that, if this doesn't happen, then who knows what my life is going to be like, just simply bars, some of the basic tools of foundation is a way to start to kind of like almost to unlock and start to undo that, because it's a very bedrock kind of situation and point of view to be in. And not very many things give you that freedom of like, oh, I could actually choose something different. And so that's why I love these tools, Access tools. I'm so grateful for them for my own life and for what I've created beyond infertility. It's funny now because I'm like married and I'm 100% sure that if I had continued to go down the road I was with my husband, I would have destroyed the marriage, because I cared enough about him that I had decided I was the person that had the problem, and I was just going to like, he should go and have kids with somebody who can have children. And oh my God, I would have completely destroyed the relationship. Not that, I mean, he would have still had choice, but I probably wouldn't be with my husband right now if I hadn't found the Access tools. So, and we have a sweet little life where we're doing things that we never thought we would be doing. And we constantly look at each other and like high five, like, did we ever think we would be here? And it's completely different than what we thought. We totally had bought into the point of view that we were going to, you know, have the kids, do the whole family thing, do what everybody else is doing. And it's such a gift to be able to have chosen something different and something beyond that. And I 100% use the Access tools for that. So is there any other questions? anything else anybody's curious about? This is just the first call of many. So I'm very excited you guys were all interested and showed up today. And what else is possible? Anyone? Any questions?
I just wanted to say thank you because it's Cammie here, and I've struggled with fertility for like 10 years. And I've done the IVF, I've done the IUI, like I resisted that. And so it's really nice to just have other tools, especially through Access. And, you know, it's such a roller coaster. And yeah, like I go up and down all the time about it. And I'm turning 40 this year. So that's really interesting for me. And I'm just really grateful for this call and Access tools and all the people that I've met in my life who are part of Access, because, you know, as a result, my life has immensely improved. And gosh, like what would I do without Access? So
I feel the same way.
Pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. And I would just say, like, keep looking at, like, what would you like to create, and you know, what else is possible. And if you have any questions specific to you in the future, you can always reach out to me. And like I said, this won't be my last call on this, because I just, it's time for this information to be out there.
Absolutely.
So
thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Hi, Patty. I didn't see you until now. Thanks for coming on. Well, if no one else has any questions, I think we'll stop for today. And like I said, this is actually just the beginning. So this conversation is going to continue. You can always reach me on Facebook. You can always private message me if you have questions beyond, or if anything in this, you know, in this call sparked any questions. And if it's there for you, amazing. And if they're for people you're working with, please reach out to me. I'm so, I would be so happy to assist anyone that is asking questions around this topic. And if you're, you know, a facilitator of Access and you have clients that are wondering about this, please let me know. And I'm happy to contribute. So thank you everyone for coming on, and watch my Facebook for the very next event, because it will be coming soon.
Thanks, Cara. This is Patty.
Thanks,
I hopped on late, but it sounded great.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye.
Thank you, everyone.